Hello.
Yo, what's up?
Hey, can I ask which link did you use to get in here?
The one provided in the SPS Discord in
The
the
Discord.
announcements channel. Is this
Okay.
the wrong one or something?
No, no,
Or
no. I think it is. I think that there might be a Zoom problem. Hopefully not. Okay, it doesn't look like there is. There's just always something that happens. Let's see. Hello, everyone. Hey, great. Can you hear me?
I can.
Did you use the Discord link?
No, I used the one on the Slack channel. I can try rejoining again with the one in the Discord.
No, no, that's okay. I'm trying to look to see if anybody has used Amy's link and if
Oh,
it's different, but I don't think it is, or at least I hope it's not.
I can try again. I'll be back.
Okay, thank you. Hi, everybody. Sorry, just trying to make sure that technical problems aren't going to happen. It looks like there's a good amount that have found the link.
Amy's link works.
Okay, awesome. Okay. Get rid of all this. All right. You guys are kind of early, which I'm happy about, but a little surprised. Test this now. Now give me a thumbs up if you can see this, just so I make sure it's working. Thank you, Jeffrey. Thank you, everybody. Wait, no, it works. How are you guys doing?
Tired.
Tired? Completely valid.
Yeah.
Week 3 is already hitting you?
Yeah. It's how are they giving us midterms when we ain't even in week 4 yet?
Dude, you have no idea.
Man.
Does that one? Do they give you 2 midterms or just one?
I honestly am scared to check. I take it 1 week at a time.
Because I know that when I took some of the Physics 5 series courses, they gave us 2 midterms. And I was like, dude, I just got to college and you're already giving me a midterm in the next week.
Oh man.
So, Jesus.
but then usually they give it in week 4 and week 6, like around, the 5th, but like week
But no.
3, what is that?
Yeah, right?
Yeah, they're like
Yeah.
3 and 5. You got it.
Or maybe they're giving 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Oh, God. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous.
And they like perfectly stagger it. So then you've got like a midterm week 3 and then midterm week 4. And then
Yep.
by the time you're done getting that midterm back, by week 6, there's another one. And then
Yeah.
week 7. And then there's finals on 9 and 10. It's just, oh man.
Yep.
Hmm.
I've had it where like I think I did well on that last midterm. Gets the grade back a couple days before the next one. Oh, I did not do too well.
Yeah. But then it gets rounded up to like so that D is a B, and you're like,
Oh,
yeah.
Hit me with the fat curve. Let's do it.
But not before they make you worry. You have to,
True.
Yeah.
worry for your grade until the very end, and then you realize, oh, I guess it didn't matter.
Yeah, 5 days before grades are due. Yeah, it looks like you have an F. Awesome. People are coming in. That way I know everything's working. I'm going to give 3 more minutes and then I'll go ahead and start. Let's see. Let's see if I can do this. I cannot. Okay. That should work. That way I can redo this continuously for how you guys are doing. I like this live poll. Yeah, amazing. Awesome. Hey, Eva. This is so great. I will end the poll when we start. Let's get set up here. Okay, we got 16 people, not including myself, 15. So fix this. Okay, I'll end it here then. And I will share the results. That way we all know we're not alone. We could all be better. Some of us are doing great. Some of us, are in the middle there, and that's understandable. This is kind of titled the workshop, this event, and it is going to be informational, but I do want you to know that it's not another task you have to do. If at any point you feel like this is, a lot to take in, you can always reach out to me. Ava and Gray are here, whether it be in the chat or whether you talk to us afterwards. Don't worry about it. You don't have to solve all these problems right now or even in this next week. So with that, I'll introduce myself. My name is Alberto Baez. I'm SPS president, and I'll be going through the presentation for the types of things you can do to prepare after you've met with the faculty or meeting a faculty and then onward. Because there's a lot of questions that don't get answered after speaking with the faculty. It's always like, how do we get students to make initial contact? And that's great, but there's always something that you have to do afterwards that doesn't always get addressed. And that's what I'll be going over today. So again, can you give me a thumbs up if you see the screen? I've had it break before, so awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Oh, and this will be recorded also. So you know somebody who could have benefited from this. And honestly, if you're too tired to come, I totally understand. So if you ever need this, just let them know that we'll be recording it, and I'll tell you where to find it afterwards. So like I said, we're going to go over a couple things here. And here are the main points. One is that meeting with the faculty. So once you made the email with them and said, hey, I would like to talk about what you do, what do you actually talk about? And how does that conversation go to make it productive? Second, we're going to talk about how you actually get credit for the work that you're doing. A lot of times it's kind of believed that you just do the research because research is fun, which it is, and it in itself is super beneficial to your learning, but you get credit for it. So you don't have to worry about your credits dipping if you say only want to take 2 courses and then do your research and focus on that. That's totally acceptable. And there's ways to get it added to your classes. Third is, how do you succeed when in the actual group? We're trying to walk you through every step of the way to make sure that it's a successful interaction between you, the faculty, and the grad students or any of the researchers there. And lastly, it's a truth that you might not like the thing you're researching. You might not wish to stay on. You might want to try something else, and that's okay. A lot of the faculty here will tell you that the whole point of doing research here is 1, to learn, but 2, to actually interact with research hands-on and find out what it is exactly that you like to do or what you want to do. It's not defining for your entire career, even in your undergraduate time here. It doesn't have to define you for the remainder of your time here. You can switch, and that's okay. And we'll talk about how to do that. So I want to preface everything with saying that lab work is to enrich the undergraduate experience. It's there so that you can benefit from it, as well as advancing the field, but it's to serve you. And it all begins at this first meeting. At my first meeting, I work in the Sue Carter lab. My first meeting was basically, hi, please let me on. I made the mistake of saying, yeah, I heard you guys need people and I just want to go in. I had no idea what it was that they do specifically. I knew that they did something with solar energy and that was all I needed to get on board. So I was like, okay, cool. You're going to let me on or not? And that was not a good way to do it. So really what you want to do when you meet with this person, which depending on who you talk to, you could be meeting directly with the PI. You'll be meeting directly with the faculty or be meeting with a grad student or even another undergrad. And they'll just explain to you what it is they do day to day, what research they do and why it matters, and things of that sort. So really it's just going to be them preparing you for what it is they do. And it'll be answering any questions you may have. So it's a good thing to come with questions. Some of those could be, what do undergraduates usually do, or what are they working on right now? And does it require any skills, and can I learn those skills with you? A lot of the times it's yes, and yes, it requires some skill, and you can learn them with them. You don't have to know them right away. I didn't know this super specific program that we had to learn called IGOR. Just a fancy way of determining how waves work and how to analyze them. But nobody knew how to use it when they came in. They learned while they were there. Another good thing to ask when you're with them is, are you open, or are the conversations in research one-on-one? Am I going to be working with you, the faculty? Or is it usually going to be with a grad student or another undergrad? That's going to be important because you want to know whether you're going to have that face-to-face or whether it's going to be more of a, here's your project, I'll leave you alone to work with it, and we'll meet, weekly, bi-weekly, and so on. That way you can know what kind of work it entails. So after that meeting, one of 2 things is going to happen. One is, we'll get back to you and we'll see if there's something that we can do here. Or it can be, we don't know that this is a good time to let students on until we might come back to you and talk about it another time. Those 2 things can happen and you got to be prepared for both. So let's say they accept you and they want you on board. That's excellent. Sorry, my headphones died, so I'm taking them off. So let's say they do get you on board and they say, okay, we'd love to get you started in the lab. Awesome. What do you do from there? You want to immediately at that point talk about independent study. Ask them if they're okay with you filling out the form to get credit and take it as a class. Most of the time it's okay. The only situation which they might say it's not is if it's less than a half hour of work that you're doing a week, but that's not usually the case. So again, getting this credit is super important so that you don't overwhelm yourself with work. Instead of doing 3 classes, a lab, and research, You can do 2 classes and research, and that's all you're responsible for. That way you can do the best you can in those areas. So how do you do this? How do you get this credit? You fill out a form that is on the physics website. I can show you where that is. Once you fill out your portion, which is just your name, student ID, email, and how many credits you want to take. You have the option of 2, 5, and 7, I believe. And it all depends on how many hours you work in the lab or on the authorization of the faculty. That's how it gets determined. Once you fill that out, the faculty then gets an automated message. You don't have to give it them. Don't worry about, being on them about filling it out. They will get it sent automatically. And you just say, hey, it's been sent. Can you please complete? And that's about it. They'll finish their end. They'll do all the departmental work and it'll get completed. Once it's complete, you'll get a code. That code you'll put into your schedule. It goes in as a class, and that's it. You've added a course to your online school schedule. Okay, let me answer some of these.
I'm sort of monitoring the chat.
So we get unit credit for research. Yes, you do. So you do get research credit, and that is to pick the amount of credit. Yes, so the credit is again 2, 5, and 7, and that'll be determined by both the number of hours and what the faculty determines is the right amount. So usually it's 5. Usually they'll just give you 5, and that's the regular amount for people. 2 is if you don't do very much or it's very not super time intensive. That way you can do other classes. Or 7 if it's really all you're doing for a while. That way it can fill up those credits that you have available.
It's not just us picking
Let me know
whatever
if anything
number
comes up
we
that I
want,
don't see
right?
in case I don't see it. Thank you.
I think that Alberto can't hear us because he took off his headphones.
Oh,
Alberto, can you hear us?
Sorry, give me 1 sec because I didn't
Okay.
do that. Okay, go ahead.
I was first of all, I said earlier I'll monitor the chat and answer some questions when I know the answers. But Ricardo, what was your question?
so I was asking specifically about the credit. That's not determined by us, right? It's not our choice for if it's 2, 5, or 7 credits. That's determined by someone else, or someone who knows what it's going to be.
It's determined by you and your faculty research mentor. In fact, I don't actually ever know what to call those people, but you guys will talk about it together and decide on whatever works. And they're going to have an idea of how much work that they want you to do, and then you guys will work on that, because it really has to do with how many hours you spend on this project a week, how many credits, and also what you have room for in your schedule, and what you're allowed. But usually the department will let you take extra credits if you're doing an independent study. And you would talk to Danesh asked about a link, and I think do they just need to talk to Brandon, or?
No. So the link to fill out the form is always available to you here. So I'll put it at the end, and I will put it in because honestly it's hard to find, and it's not on purpose, but it's right here, individual studies, and I'll put the link. It's in DocuSign. So again, like I said, literally all you need to do, your name, your email, who the person is that you're working with, it'll be the same. The physics advisor is the one that you met with when you were doing the declaration, declaring your major, and this faculty sponsor is the person you're doing research with. And I'll put that link in there now, and I'll also include it in the slides when they're available. But just so you know, this is all you got to do. And then there's another one that asks you the credits, and that's pretty much it. So, okay, I'll get back in here. Yeah, thank you guys for those questions. I really appreciate hearing. the concerns and things you have. It's been a while since I've had a lot of these questions, so it's good to be reminded. All right, so yeah, it's added to your classes. It's a full course that you're taking that you're going to get credit for. Some of them even have monetary compensation, but that does vary by lab. And if you want to ask your faculty advisor, just ask them. That's okay. It's not unreasonable, or you're not being unfair to be like, hey, are there any opportunities here for paid work, because it would help my financial situation, or it's a good alternative to job seeking. That's totally okay to ask in your meeting or after you've been confirmed in the lab. Probably before if you want to know, but again, that's totally cool to ask. Not a problem. Okay. Do I need to answer any of these? What if you're not a physics major? No? Okay. I'll answer.
I'll
Okay.
interrupt you if I don't know the answer.
Okay. All
to the
right.
chat.
So these are all the steps once you're in the lab, once you're not physically, sorry. Once you're working with somebody on lab work, here's some things that are really handy when you get in there that aren't necessarily common sense, and that's okay. One of them is note taking. You want to make sure, and this is what I did as soon as I heard a term that I have no idea what they just said, I'm writing it down. And it's okay to interrupt them also and be like, I don't really know what that is. Can you explain it to me? But if that doesn't feel comfortable to you, and it might not at the beginning, you always feel like maybe I shouldn't belong in the room. I'm kind of the kid watching the adult table. But it's okay. Just write it down. Write down anything and everything that isn't clear. Even if it seems simple or they're throwing it around, it's jargon that you don't know yet, and that's totally okay. Totally fine to write it down. Now, what do you do once you have all these terms or have any questions that you have? You can ask them again. You can ask them in the meeting, outside of the meeting. Hey, do you think you can explain this to me one more time in layman's terms, or kind of dumb it down for me? And that's okay. Or you can do reading on it. Again, a quick Google Scholar search. Make sure it's Google Scholar, because you'll get a whole bunch of things in regular Google search. Or even read the papers that the lab themselves have published. You can ask them, where do I find all of our published works for our lab? And those will usually have introductions in them or abstracts that help you along the way to define terms, define big processes, or define the main themes of the lab. Let's see. So I don't know. I keep worrying about the flashing orange for chat, and I'm sorry. I'll leave it to Ava. I don't want to. Sorry.
You can trust me. I got this.
Okay. Another one is the fixed schedule. So sometimes you will have a lab meeting where the whole group meets together and talks about what's going on. And then you'll also have meetings either directly with the person you're doing research with, which could be a grad student, or with the faculty person themselves. Just make sure that you set a fixed time with the person you're actually doing research with. That way you're both on the same page and you can understand, here are my responsibilities. I have somebody to be accountable with, and I can get the work done. It's super important. It doesn't always happen. So it's good that you be proactive in telling them, hey, can we meet on a regular basis? Here's my free time. Here's your free time. Let's work it out. And the last one is goal setting. The problem sometimes with starting research super new is that you say, okay, at the end of this, I'm gonna publish a paper. It's like, yes, you will definitely do something. And it's really hard to measure your own success. You might feel like, hey, I'm not really contributing. I feel kind of like dead weight here because I don't know everything. And that's just not fair. It's not fair to yourself. And it's not fair to the work that you're doing that's really meaningful. So a good thing to do is honestly do some small goals. Like, okay, I looked up 10 terms this week and I understand 5 of them. Cool, that's 5 more than you had before. And these jargons still are a little confusing, but that's okay. But doing this super small and meaningful goal setting so that you have something to look forward to be like, yes, I did something here. I don't feel like just because I didn't publish a couple of papers that I didn't do anything here. That's not true. You contributed to science in a real way, and you should at least recognize that yourself. Okay. Now, oh, this is just to super emphasize, please do a schedule. Make an exact time, an exact date. Weekly is preferred. After that, it's kind of hard to stick to a schedule, but whatever you can figure. Okay, and the last one before we kind of have this conversation with each other is the decision to switch labs. Now, like I said, you might not like the thing you do. I switched labs. I did one lab for a whole quarter and then decided it wasn't for me. I just didn't like the work that was going there personally. I didn't find it personally fulfilling. So here are some questions that you can ask yourself, to make this decision. And it can be hard, definitely. One of them is, am I still interested in the material? And that doesn't mean, am I still interested in physics? You can do physics somewhere else. That's okay. The point is, this very specific thing that you're doing here, is that still interesting to you? You're not being picky if it's something that you don't enjoy. That's okay. If it's something that, you're lucky to have this opportunity to work at the research lab, but that doesn't mean you're contracted to work with them for a set amount of time, unless you're doing the class. If you're doing the independent studies, just finish the quarter. But when you're doing research with them, you're not tied to them. You don't have to do that, and they will understand. They will understand that we have undergrads who change projects, they change the things that they're passionate about, and that's okay. Another question to ask is, are there other opportunities available? Oftentimes in the summer, you'll find that internships open up and REUs, research experiences for undergraduates, open up, which is just another system of internships. And they get paid positions. You do different work, you do a different lab somewhere else. And that's an exciting opportunity that is extremely beneficial to you. And if it only happens sometime a year, like only in the summer, it's okay to take a break from your lab, speaking with the faculty person, to talk about, hey, I love it here, I like doing this work, but there's this opportunity that I just can't pass up. It's super important to me, and I can see it being valuable to the work I do. And that would be a good definition for when it's a signal to yourself that it's okay to move somewhere else for a little bit. In fact, actually, so even the grad students in my lab, they work there, they do their research with this lab, and they'll go on internships also. And they'll just say, hey, I'm going to leave for a quarter or two. I want to do this work somewhere else because it's important to me. And I'll come back and I'll finish this work. It happens all the time at all levels, which just only signals a stronger voice that it is okay. And you're not wrong for doing so. And the last one is, does the timing make sense? So if you're on the brink of just finishing a paper, probably don't want to leave. Wait until you finish that work or finish the project that is very close to being done. And by very close, we mean, let's say you're 3 weeks or less away from finishing something. Totally okay to stop what you're doing, do something else that's important to you. But if it's so close to being done, just finish it out. That way, you have this thing under your belt, some experience or some tangible outcome that you've gotten out of it, and then it's okay to switch. But especially, like, let's say you just met with the faculty, you're in your first 2 weeks, first 3 weeks, and it's not clicking. Something's not right, or something's not feeling the way that I guess you want to feel. And I don't mean like, well, this is kind of boring, because sometimes data entry is boring. But I mean more in the fact of, this is what I thought I really liked. I thought I really liked to do astro modeling, but it just didn't end up being for me. And I see that electronics is something that I want to look at. Yeah, go ahead, Ava.
So somebody asked, if you were to switch labs during a quarter and you had already gotten, an IS credits, if you're working with credits, is that going to affect your credits.
Right. So the best answer is that it will depend on what your conversation is like with the faculty. So if you're doing this independent study credit and you talk to them and be like, hey, I'm really interested in this other work. I've appreciated this opportunity. What can be done? If they say, that's totally okay, I'm still willing to give you the credit, just do A, B, or C, they might say, yeah, just finish up this work and look into that other thing. That's okay. They're not gonna stick you there, even though there's that grade that's there for it. They'll reason with you and talk with you about it. If that doesn't happen, if a faculty says like, I'm not really comfortable with you leaving, I don't really like this move suddenly, that's okay. You can reach out to one of us in SPS to be an intermediary in case you're like, I really want to go here, but it's just hard. Then we can navigate through it. But usually if that happens and they clearly say that they don't want you to leave or they don't think it's a good idea for you to leave, even though you've expressed that you're passionate about moving somewhere else, then usually it's okay to just be like, this just isn't going to work out. I would like to talk with the advisor, Brandon, about what we can do at the department level to change it. I highly doubt that's ever going to happen, but if it does, we need to be receptive to those things happening. So
I have a follow-up question to that. So how late in the quarter, if you know the answer to this, how late can you actually sign up for IS credits? Like, can you start research maybe in the beginning of the quarter and then decide, okay, I would love to have some credits for this, so maybe I should get this going?
Yeah, so it's the add drop or swap date that's in the calendar for all classes. So that's the date by which you need to get this done. And the same thing for withdrawing. Let's say I really want to do independent study, but then I think, no, I have to take this class instead. That's the same date. I think it's, God damn it, it is, I don't know. I'm not gonna lie. I'll look it
It
up
is
here and tell
April
you the date.
16th. It is tomorrow.
Oh, there you go. It's tomorrow. So if you want to add it, now's a good time to do it. It also matters that you have the space in your schedule for it. If you're already at 15 credits, they'll do 17 or 19, but that sometimes you'll need approval based on things like your GPA. But besides that, it's totally okay to switch out. Oh, and you can change the grade all the way up to, oh goodness, I don't remember. For grade or pass, no pass, you can change also. So say you guys just can't reach an agreement, you can just change it to pass, no pass. Doesn't affect your grade. You still got the experience out of it. And that's totally okay. Even if you're going to grad school, you can explain that one in a letter that you write if you really need to. But it's totally okay. Alrighty, let me see. That was everything. But I know that there are lots of questions about actually being in the lab. So if there's anything else that you guys have about what it is that lab work even looks like, we can talk about our own experiences. I know that myself, Ava, and Gray are in labs. That way we can answer some questions. Let's see. Okay.
So to finish answering Neil's question, every faculty has a different idea of what they need from you, and a different idea of what kind of work they want to give you. And as far as I know, I don't think anybody would like require you to stay with them for a while, but the longer that you can stay with the research group, like the more work that you can do and the more that you can learn about it. And I think that also looks good for grad applications. It's kind of like a job application. If you stay somewhere for a long time, that shows that you have perseverance and that you're an asset and they want you, and all kinds of good stuff. But I've also heard that it is great to get as much different kinds of experience as possible as well. So if you want to try out a few different things, especially if you are like a freshman or a sophomore or something like that, that's great. So but as far as I've seen so far, it's really open. There's no like commitment to this stuff. It's really about what works for you, and the faculty will work with you to make sure that you're getting everything that you need out of your research experience.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that. It's totally, the ball's in your court. It's for you, and it shouldn't be thought of as an extreme service to somebody else. It's for you. That this research is for undergrads. That's why we're here.
And you do not need to get credit for it at all. It's been told to me that getting credit for your research is, it's really good because generally people get really good grades on their independent studies for research. So it's really good for boosting your GPA. What was told to me by my research advisor is just, well, if you're going to be doing the research anyway, you might as well have something to show for it. They may ask you to maybe write a little paper or something at the end of it, but it shouldn't. I was told it shouldn't really add any work to what the research that you're doing already. So you don't have to get credit if you don't want to, but it could be good for your GPA.
All right. Do you have something, Gray?
I have a few questions of my own.
Yes, go ahead.
Specifically about that initial contact when we have just sent we went to the research fair. We saw some professors that were really interesting, and we want to get involved in their research. What does that first initial email look like? What do we want to say in it? What are important things to comment upon?
Right. So I can do this one with examples. So on our website, there's resources for all this. And we even gave a template on, Jesus, now I can't even remember where I put it. We gave templates for what you tell them. That way you can actually write down the email that they get. Dang, we did a lot of stuff. Okay, these are recommendation emails. I have a couple more, but ideally, it would look something like this modified. So in this one, it's good morning, Professor. We actually do have Professor Smith, but good morning, Professor. My name is whatever. I know you put in that sentence of your connection point. So I know you from this class. I know you from the research fair. I know you from bothering you in the hallway that one time a couple years ago, whatever. Put in the initial contact that tells you, this sort of relation here. Even if you don't have any, let's say there's that instance where you literally don't know them, you looked them up online and they looked really cool, then say that. I saw the work you did. It was super intriguing to me. I wanted to come here and I'd like the opportunity to meet you formally so that we can talk more about it and I can, I have questions or something like that. You always want to have questions because they're always happy to answer them. And it could be something simple. Like, can you tell me a little more about what this word means or what it means in your research? That's a really easy way to do it. And once you've done that kind of hook about, here's how I want to connect with you, you say, are you open to scheduling a meeting in the next week, in the next few weeks? Here is my availability. That way they know, here's exactly some time slots that we could do together instead of a back and forth. You give them right away, here are my availabilities. Please let me know if any of these work for you. And from there, they'll say yes, no. They don't put in there, I'm specifically looking to work with you immediately. That's not, it's go slow. It's okay. Right now, we're just talking to see if you even like what they do, if you even like what they have to say about what they do. That's it. Nobody's promising or nobody's committing to anything. And that's what that email would look like of initial contact.
What if, and adding on to this, if you saw someone at the research fair, make sure that you also ask if they know of any other professors who do similar work, who are also looking for students, because, a lot of people went to that research fair. And so a lot of people are going to be asking those professors for those research positions. And understandably, they won't have as much room to accommodate everyone. So they know their colleagues, and they know who might be looking for students, and so that they're a great resource to ask.
Right, a completely fair point that a closed door is not completely closed. And speaking to that, actually, so let's say you've talked to everybody that you wanted to work with, and nobody's available. You got to have a plan B, and the plan B in this case is that we have a form. There's always a form for everything. Just if you don't know our department very well, that's what you need to know. There's a form for everything. They're not really complicated. It's okay. I know they're not complicated because I built some of them. So, so I tried my best to make it easy. This one, if you just completely can't find anything, nobody's returning your emails, it's okay. Just let it go. That's okay. Next step is to do this form. You put in your name, your email. It asks you your interests, what kind of hours you're looking for. It just wants to know more about you. And then it matches you with faculty who are looking for people and who have somebody who wants somebody similar to you. And that's it. And it's not like LinkedIn where, there's this mountain of 1,000 people. I think in this form alone, there's only like less than 20 undergrads in it. So if you really run out of luck talking to people, feel free to do this. And David Smith, one of our faculty, will reach out to you and say, hey, I found you a few options, or I found you an option, and here's what to do next. Totally good plan B.
Alberto, will you put that link in the chat as well? There you go, Danesh. That's what you were just asking about.
Yeah, so there's a link. There's this question. So if you're taking 15 credits and somehow our lab credits are going to be 7, yes. Well, yeah, so those cases where you're over credits, there's always a petition, unless you're above a threshold of GPA.
If you have a 3.0 or higher, you can take 19 units.
There you go.
Or more than 19 units. If you want to take 23 units, you must petition your college advisor, and that information is usually available on your college website. Yeah.
The cool thing about today's guest is that we have myself, Ava, who does research also, and Gray, who does research and then works as the advisor for a college. So we're all here to answer those overlapping questions. You'll find that a lot of the times you'll go to one advisor and they'll say, oh, go to this other advisor for an answer. Go to this other, and they'll just bounce you back and forth. So if you want to ask one now that overlaps or that you're not sure about, we can totally do that. Do they expect you to be knowledgeable in their specific research field? Oh, no, they do not expect you to be knowledgeable.
Yeah.
They hired me. They put me on board at the research, knowing full well I had no idea how to do it. and that's something that they know. Like they've been doing this for years. They know that you don't know exactly what they're doing, or even sometimes the basics, and that's okay. Like right here, let me just real quick. So in this form, they'll say, have you done any of these? Have you done any of these things? But none of them are mandatory. You don't have to have done any of them. And that's okay. If you haven't even finished the 5 series, that's okay. You're just asking questions. And the good thing is that once you ask those questions, then they know you. Then they know your name a little more. And the next time you come around asking, they'll be more open to you coming on board. And that's all part of the game of understanding that it's okay not to know everything, and that doesn't disqualify you from doing real science. None of that disqualifies you.
Yeah. I just want to say also, I think what I've been told from professors is the only thing that they want you to have is interest. Like it really will suck for you if you're not interested in the research. It won't be fun. At least this is what I've heard. And I feel like what I've done so far, if I wasn't interested, then I wouldn't enjoy this. And, like, I wouldn't want to put the time in. So, and they like to see your interest as well. So I think that's the only like requirement, is just that you want to do it. You know what I mean? So it's really nice to try to, I mean, you should be shopping for research, not like Alberta said in the very beginning, instead of just jumping on the first thing, like, instead of just jumping on the first thing, you know, look for something that you want and really work towards that. And then also, so from what I know, there's a lot of work that can be done remotely. There's so much like programming and or coding and like stuff like that. Lots of line fitting. There's like so much line fitting in research. So much Python. You'll get really good at it fast. Even if you know nothing, it's okay, but it does definitely help to know a little bit of Python. Taking like the 119 class or any CS class is gonna really help you. But yeah, so that kind of stuff, you do not need to be on a lab. But if you can, and you know, if you are in the area, I think honestly, it would probably give you a leg up to be able to go to some labs. But for mostly what you would be doing as an undergrad is probably stuff that you can do remotely, at least for now.
Yeah, and to that point that Ava made about shopping around, so on this, I keep linking stuff on the website, I'm sorry, but on the website, you can totally just go here and see what it is that they do. Anthony, you might have seen him in your Physics 5 series. Another popular one is Hessa, you saw in the 5 series. Mike, they'll put here, again, so they're all in the department, but they'll always put in like a website they do. And if you're just like, oh, I wonder what he does, go to his website, look at the research he's done. And it'll always be like this. They're not UX designers or UI designers, so they're not always going to be the best website, but they'll be a good start to look at exactly what it is they do or work on. LHC, that might be something you've seen before. You can look it up. And from here, you just go down the rabbit hole of, you know, do I like what this person does? Is it interesting? What he does is very interesting, but that's what you do. You kind of just look around. In this form, you're not even yet talking to them. You're not committing to anything, but you're just looking at what they do, seeing if it's at all interesting to you. And again, just search anything and everything. I do want to say that if you don't know any professors, you could go down this list, see what they do, and talk to them. If you're going to use this list, probably anything above adjunct, so probably not down here. It's a little harder because they don't always bring on faculty. Some do, but not all. The majority of those who bring on, the majority of those who bring on students is these up here. Just in case you're curious about looking at it. Let's see. Is it okay to just email them? Yes. Yes. You will not be penalized for emailing them. And the very worst thing that could happen is they don't respond. And that's okay. It might happen, and that's all right. If that happens, a really good thing you can do instead. I'm not, I don't want to throw my own person under the bus, but my faculty, Sue Carter, she's notoriously hard to reach by email. Like, I sent her an email a year ago, and I'm already in her lab. And that initial email was, "Can I join your lab?" And she looked at it and responded and said, "Sorry, we're not looking for people right now." And I'm like, I'm already here.
Wait, a year later?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So I'm like, Sue, I know it's okay that I can't be let on. I'm already in here. So what you can do instead is when you go to their website, sometimes they'll have the people who work there, and you could reach out directly to Sue, the main faculty, but that can be hard. If you find that there's no luck there, go to the grad student. Honestly, talk to the grad student. Hey, can I talk about what you do in the lab? Can I talk to an undergrad? Go to the undergrads. Actually, yeah, here's a picture of all them. But just go to the undergrads, go to whoever you can to talk about what this lab does. There is a red flag again if like they don't answer emails very often, but it happens sometimes with faculty. So just reach out to whoever on these lists when you find them. That's a good roundabout way to get to talking to them. is there anything wrong with calling them? They will not answer because they're not on campus. So a lot of them would have a phone line on there. They don't put a personal phone number a lot of the times. You can do that actually. There used to be that if you called the department when we were in person, you can call the department and be like, "Hi, can I be transferred to Sue?" And her office phone will ring. So that's great. If you do that, when we can do that, just again, the same script. "Hi, I'm interested in this. I met you from that. And I really just want to set something up sitting down. Do you have a second or two?" If they say, "Sorry, I'm really busy," and they sound like they're in a rush, totally okay. Just say, "Is it okay if I send you an email?" You're gonna send them an email anyways. But just ask them, "Is it okay if I send you an email to talk about it more?" They'll say yes or no. And you'll go from there. And the email that you'll do exactly after you end that call is to just say, "Thank you for even answering the phone and talking to me for those 5 seconds." Just do that. And then and if you want to do in that same email, "Okay, here's my availability," great. But it's always about just pushing a little bit so that they can have that next step of meeting with you. Yeah. I don't know if Gray, you had something to say.
No, but I was curious about like that time when you may have had a sit-down meeting with the professor, and then you've reached out to the professor and they haven't gotten back to you, and what you should do in that time. Should you keep emailing them? How much should you email them? All those types of questions.
I think a general rule of thumb is that if you've emailed them more than 3 times in 2 weeks, they might not get to you very quickly. And so it's time to divert some of those emails to these other people. That's been my experience. And if you talk to them and they say, "It doesn't look like we really have room for it," they might know that there's not really room for it in the group. Then it's always good to have other people lined up as well. Whenever you reach out to faculty, you should always reach out to a couple of them. Try not to, old saying, put all your eggs in one basket. Don't send all of your emails to one person. Do it at a couple of them, meet with a couple of them. And that's the best advice I think I could give, is that you don't want to just try and focus on one without thinking of other people that might be of interest if they just don't get back to you. Yeah, but try not to email more than that in 2 weeks because they're not going to see it. They won't get annoyed, but they might not see it. Here we go. If we don't take credit, would there be no real record of the research you did, and later if you need? Well, they can do letters of rec. So that's a reference that you were there. They can do references if you need to be referred to a lab and you were in lab work before. You can do that there. It can be put on a CV, which is the academic version of the resume. So there's a record of it. The point of the credit and why I'm pushing it so hard is so that you yourself can focus on your academics without any other things impeding on it, or without these extra things weighing on you, which can happen. Ava, I'm gonna go ahead and let you.
Well, so for me and my faculty sponsor, that's what they're called, faculty sponsors, whatever, faculty, whatever. We filled out a form that was like a contract between us about like what was expected of me, what was expected of him, what we wanted to accomplish together, just like stuff like that. So I actually don't know if that is like standard, if you always do that when you're brought on to, okay, no. So I was gonna say, for me at least, like there is definitely a record in the fact that we filled this thing out together. So, yeah, I guess not everybody does that.
Yeah, if that isn't common, and it's not, if that doesn't happen, you're more than welcome to ask that something like that be written down. Totally okay to ask that. But it's not currently a standard, unfortunately. I don't know if we had another question here.
Does anybody have questions about like what we actually do in research, or how we like our take on it so far and how we feel about it, or that's what do you even do? Okay, yeah. I feel like I was really confused. Like it was really hard for me to picture what what undergrads do. And I'm sure it's different for all of us. So Alberto, you'll probably want to talk about this too, because I'm doing astro stuff. So for astro stuff, I mean, we don't have labs, we really don't. We just have computers that do stuff for us, and we, use the universe and just take information from the universe as our lab. So what I've been doing so far, and I've only been doing this for like maybe a month or something like that. I'm new to this, is I just have like a Python code that I am messing around with, and I'm trying to do line fits for it to that's going to like give us back information that we want. And from what I've seen and heard, I think a lot of people do very similar stuff. A lot of undergrads do really, really similar kind of research. And during the research fair, I asked around, like, what do your researchers do? What do your undergrads do? And it seems like that was their answer mostly. So it really is a lot of coding, and so far also it seems like everybody is really used to us undergrads not knowing anything about coding quite going in. So, don't let that like dissuade you from starting. I work with Ryan Foley. Looking at supernova and looking at like strange supernova, and basically just like, tracking all that stuff and making catalogs of it and whatnot. So, yeah.
Yeah, I can just really quick. If you're worried that a lab they do physical hand, with their hands, and what that means during this time where we're at home. I do in-hand lab work, and this is what they have me doing. I do the data analysis now because we are, not in person. And I don't think it's as fun, because I like doing the hands-on work, but there's always work for you to do. And there's always something for you to model or simulate or conduct. And so don't worry about there not being something available for you right now in a lab that's traditionally in person and physical. Questions? Dang, very cool. Thank you. Yeah, you can do it, honestly, a lot of it through your computer. Have any of us worked with Skip? Did I work with Skip? No, I mean, technically Tesla's in Skip, but that's a little iffy because it's not necessarily the same particle physics.
She is an astro professor in all but name. So I guess I can talk about my work with Tesla. So I work with...
Sorry, Lillian, you're saying that she works with Skip, but I would love to hear yours, and then I'm sure Lillian can share also.
Oh, then no, Lillian should go first because that's actually about Skip.
Okay.
My work is not about Skip.
Sorry, great. I'll let Lillian go ahead.
Oh yeah. I mean, I guess I do kind of do more of the computational stuff, but I think at least I work with Stefano Profumo, and I mean, I don't really use Python. I actually use I've actually been using Mathematica. So that's kind of a different. It's kind of more about, I think, a lot of it is sort of solving differential equations almost. But I mean, I haven't really gotten into that yet because actually the first project I started was using this software called Mesa that's written in Fortran. So I don't know, it's a little bit different, but I feel like if you want to get more involved with like math and stuff, then I think that you can try to sort of reach out to the Skip faculty and like the more theory groups, which are pretty cool too.
Yeah, and if you're just hearing Skip for the first time, so this is kind of a collection within our department, Santa Cruz Institute for Particle Physics. And this, see? So sorry, this is Tesla. That's why I'm like laughing a little bit. It constitutes a bunch of faculty who work on particle physics. And so this is a collection of them. It's not one organization. They don't all work on the same project, but they do constitute underneath this group that we call Skip inside of the department. There's also people who work in UCSC, and that's like astronomy and astrophysics, and that's another group. But just so you know, in case you've never heard these terms before, that's totally okay. Google search away. Yeah, I don't know if there was another question that I didn't read. Should I just email these people from the Skip website? So these are the same people in our faculty, or sorry, some of them are the people in our faculty. So just make sure that you, when you check between this and the faculty webpage, that they're on both, because they'll have like technicians and engineers who work with them who are also here that don't really take on students. They just work there to, do the research with faculty. So to make sure that they're open to taking on undergrads, cross-reference it with the list on the physics website or on the astrophysics website, just to make sure. If you took a class with them, that's awesome, Neil. That would be a really good time to talk. That's your hook when you do that email. It's like, I took your class, I really enjoyed it, and I'm interested more in what you do, things like that. Oh, thank you. That's okay, Annette. Have a good one. Don't feel bad about leaving. It's okay. Yes.
So somebody was asking about summer, and I'm curious about that as well. So I put in the chat that, when I asked Ryan, can I do research over the summer? And he was like, well, basically what he was like, if you want, but, he was like, of course, like, I want help, but, he was like, I really want to encourage you to look for like something paid over the summer because those exist. And he was like, you probably won't be getting any credits over the summer. So, he just encouraged me to look around for other things, but they definitely want all the help that they can get for free. They want free labor if they can get it. So, but there are possibilities. Oh, I see you, Alberto, on that little. You're famous on the internet. Anyway, so yeah, that's awesome. So apparently, David Smith wants to pay students over the summer. That's amazing. Yeah, REUs are generally paid, right?
Yes, REUs, the definition exclusively, you get paid a stipend.
Exactly.
Most of the RU deadlines, however, have already passed for this summer, so it's a good thing to investigate for next summer. Also, probably by next summer, a lot of the travel restrictions, as well as the COVID and travel restrictions, will probably be a little bit easier to navigate than they are. Than they will be this quarter or this summer.
Right, that's a great point. But yeah, so REU, we did a whole workshop on it. If you're curious about where you find them, how they work, they, again, like everyone was saying, they pay you to do research, and they already are good enough to go on the CV or the resume that you do. So there's literally nothing but benefit for you there. Some of them will do housing also. That's a few of them. I can't remember which ones off the top of my head, but if you're at all curious, I encourage you to look at website and look at the video that we have on REUs, and we can also put in here some of the websites you use to search for them. Yeah.
It's 6 o'clock. Are we continuing forward or?
Yeah, I'll just say it now. If you need to leave, absolutely. I'll just be here if anybody has questions, but.
Wait, before anybody leaves, though, I just want to say, like, please notice that the SPS website has so many resources and like, I'm going to admit, I've never been on this website. And I really want to check it out because it really is so many like important little things for all of us. So, oh gosh, look, I need to learn LaTeX. That's great. Thank you so much, Alberto. So yeah, check out the website to get a lot of cool information, guys. I'm gonna do the same thing myself.
Yeah, and we're gonna be putting more pretty soon. Like if you weren't here at the research fair, we're gonna put down all the answers to the questions that we ask faculty about what they do, what their lab looks like, so on and so forth. So it'll be here when that gets updated. But if you want to learn LaTeX and you've never heard of it, it's important. So yes, she's right. I won't self-promote, but it's a great website. Yeah, so if you need to leave, awesome. If you still have questions or you want to hear about specifically if you guys have a moment, Gray and Ava, specifically about what we do in a day-to-day, we'll give like a 2-minute, 1-minute description of what we do exactly. But if you need to go for it. If you have a question, stay. If you want to hear about this, stay. Awesome. Okay. Gray, you want to tell us what you do exactly?
Oh dear, here we go. Let's see if I can do it myself. I work with Tesla Giltoma. I'm continuing, we have a different lab structure. We're a little bit less formal than other labs apparently. Tesla does a lot of cosmology. She studies galaxy clusters and the way galaxy clusters move. She's done a lot of different things throughout her academic career. So I think that makes sense that she is why she's at Skip. But I am continuing another undergraduate project that they completed for their thesis, and that we're trying to finish and write into a paper. And so basically what the project was looking at galaxy clusters to determine and comparing them to simulations to determine some properties of dark matter. And so it is, right now I am trying to get a larger sample size for us to do the code and that the previous student ran on on about 7 or 8 different galaxy clusters. And so I have to go find all of these different observations, and I have to evaluate them. And instead of doing this by hand, I'm doing this using a Python program, and that is a lot of work and very hard, and has taken me a few quarters to get right. But we're nearing that point where we get to start actually evaluating different galaxy clusters and seeing if we can create a better model of dark matter.
Awesome. Ava, do you want to add to what you do?
Yeah. So actually, if you want to, Alberto, would you mind going to, oh my gosh, it's like transients.UCSC or something like that. I don't remember what it is. Something like that, yeah. So my research group has a, yeah, go ahead and click on that. Has a pretty nice little website. So basically, this is what they investigate. They use supernova information to you know, get a picture of how stars work. You know, how there's also like a side project that I don't know much about gravitational waves. And so they look at really crazy mergers like neutron star mergers or black hole, like you know, 2 black holes merging or something like that. And what I specifically have been doing was looking at this weird supernova that showed like a weird spike of calcium that hasn't really been seen before. So if you go to exotic transients, that's kind of the team that I'm on, which sounds so cool, right? Exotic transients. So basically like just weird stuff. Now transient just means that it's not like permanent. It's something that happens pretty quickly. Supernova, you can really see them only for maybe like a few years, and then like they're gone, you know, and they'll only be super bright for a certain amount of time, and then that goes away. So I've been looking at one specific supernova and trying to figure out like why it's weird, you know, like, you know, why isn't it acting like the other ones that we think it should be acting like? So yeah, I've just been messing with this code that I didn't write that's really weird. And I think I actually am gonna have to rewrite the whole code, or not the whole thing, but like a lot of it. But yeah, and we meet 3 times a week for different reasons. And so far I really love it. It's really interesting. We have these science talks every Tuesday where somebody just talks about some cool paper that was published, not by our team, with some really interesting new stuff. And then Wednesdays, we talk about everybody's papers that they're writing. And then Thursdays is when I meet with my exotic transients group to talk about that. Yeah, it's pretty cool. That's it.
Awesome. And mine was that group that we saw. Oh God, now I lost it. So what I do is just work on these things right here, LSCs, and what they do is that they just concentrate light that comes from the sun instead of a regular solar panel. They trap it inside of this panel and redirect it to a single line of solar cells so that it can be used for agriculture. That way the wavelength going in is different from the one going out so that they can better feed plants or be implemented into buildings. That way we can have, you know, windows and stuff that add color or add art to a house, a large building, or even cars, we want to say, and then still gather electricity. So that'd be really cool. So that's basically what I do. And so my everyday thing right now is, how do I make these things as good as they can be? And making different solutions, like in there, making different solutions to make them better. I can't do that right now. So what do? I make a program that simulates how they could be better and figure out once I can go back in and I make these solutions, whether they work. The hope is that they do. And
I
that's
think
about
it's
it.
so funny because what you're doing is like so useful to humanity and the world, and mine is like, we look at stars and that's it. That's what we do. But it's interesting, you know, and we're just building like a sort of a map of the universe and trying to figure out how this stuff works. But I love that. Like, you guys are really hopefully improving the lives of all creatures on Earth by doing stuff like that. That's really cool.
Yeah, a lot of the times you'll hear jokes from the people who do this type of work, who do a lot of hands-on stuff. They'll say, yeah, we're just no, they'll say like engineers are just physicists who lost their way. It's like, you could still do this fun work but understand what's going on. And I'm just like, oh my God.
Speaking of engineers, Neil had a question in the chat about how difficult it would be for an engineering student to get involved in astrophysics or in SCIP.
Not hard, because you can do interdisciplinary, meaning you could do research across departments. We have people who work in the bioengineering department, work in EE department, or engineering department, Baskin School, because they're not. Anyways, the point is that it's totally okay to go into another department and work with somebody that you found their work interesting, and they need that hands-on. I mean, we have people in physics and astrophysics that do build circuits and build components that they need for devices. And so that's a great place to work with somebody on it. Or even if you just need to do code with them, sure, they're happy to get some coding help. So, yeah.
A theoretical particle physicist cannot build the LHC without help.
Definitely. That's Mike.
Yeah,
Mike is
physicists
the
need engineers is the truth.
Yeah, like I said earlier, SCIP, they have like 6 or so engineers who literally the physicists will walk over and be like, hey, is this feasible? No? Okay, let's go back. No, sir, you cannot move something like that with the technology we have. Okay. And that's useful. It's good to have that conversation. Yeah. Okay, I'm totally done. If there's no other questions, I'll end it here. That way my computer can breathe and transcode all of this video in time to have it up. So yeah, if there's nothing else, thank you guys, everybody, for coming, for staying. I especially appreciate that one. I mean, you're a trooper for staying 11 minutes over and coming 10 minutes or 5 minutes early. You're amazing. I appreciate you so much. Let's see here. Anything else? What is the right place for finding all the research groups?
Was that on the SPS website or was it in the physics department website?
Yeah, so here you can, the best way to find them is to go here, a faculty, pick a web page, and then the web page will go to the group. what research they do and stuff like that. Yeah. Alrighty. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna end it here.
Right. Thanks so much, Alberto.
Yeah, thank you guys for sticking around and talking.
Yeah, thanks everybody for coming.
Yes. All right.
All right.
Bye, everyone.
I'll see you guys later. Bye.